Sri Aurobindo provides a detailed overview of the causes and types of suffering we experience, and how to transcend the suffering through a shift in standpoint, away from the external nature to the self above, or the psychic being within. Sri Aurobindo writes, quote, "It is not the soul that suffers. The self is calm and equal to all things, and the only sorrow of the psychic being is the sorrow of the resistance of nature to the divine will, or the resistance of things and people to the call of the true, the good, and the beautiful. What is affected by suffering is the vital nature and the body. When the soul draws towards the divine, there may be a resistance in the mind, and the common form of that is denial and doubt, which may create mental and vital suffering. There may again be a resistance in the vital nature, whose principal character is desire, and the attachment to the objects of desire. And if, in this field, there is conflict between the soul and the vital nature, between the divine attraction and the pull of the ignorance, then obviously there may be much suffering of the mind and vital parts. The physical consciousness also may offer a resistance, which is usually that of a fundamental inertia, an obscurity in the very stuff of the physical, an incomprehension, an inability to respond to the higher consciousness, a habit of helplessly responding to the lower mechanically, even when it does not want to do so. Both vital and physical suffering may be the consequence. There is, moreover, the resistance of the universal nature, which does not want the being to escape from the ignorance into the light. This may take the form of a vehement insistence on the continuation of the old movements, waves of them thrown on the mind and vital and body, so that old ideas, impulses, desires, feelings, responses continue even after they are thrown out and rejected, and can return like an invading army from outside until the whole nature, given to the divine, refuses to admit them. This is the subjective form of the universal resistance, but it may also take an objective form. Opposition, calumny, attacks, persecution, misfortunes of many kinds, adverse conditions and circumstances, pain, illness, assaults from men or forces. There, too, the possibility of suffering is evident. There are two ways to meet all that. First, that of the self, calm, equality, a spirit, a will, a mind, a vital, a physical consciousness that remain resolutely turned towards the divine and unshaken by all suggestion of doubt, desire, attachment, depression, sorrow, pain, inertia. This is possible when the inner being awakens, when one becomes conscious of the self, of the inner mind, inner vital, the inner physical, for that can more easily attune itself to the divine will. And then there is a division in the being as if there were two beings, one within, calm, strong, equal, unperturbed, a channel of the divine consciousness and force, one without, still encroached on by the lower nature. But then the disturbances of the latter become something superficial, which are no more than an outer ripple, until these, under the inner pressure, fade and sink away, and the outer being, too, remains calm, concentrated, unattackable. There is also the way of the psychic. When the psychic being comes out in its inherent power, its consecration, adoration, love of the divine, self-giving, surrender, and imposes these on the mind, vital and physical consciousness, and compels them to turn all their movements Godward. If the psychic is strong and master throughout, then there is no or little subjective suffering, and the objective cannot affect either the soul or the other parts of the consciousness. The way is sunlit, and a great joy and sweetness are the note of the whole sadhana. As for the outer attacks and adverse circumstances, that depends on the action of the force transforming the relations of the being with the outer nature. As the victory of the force proceeds, they will be eliminated. But however long they last, they cannot impede the sadhana, for then even adverse things and happenings become a means for its advance and for the growth of the spirit. End quote. Reference: Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, The Psychic Being, Soul, Its Nature, Mission and Evolution, Section 4, The Psychic Being and Sadhana, pages 121 to 123.